Good afternoon everybody, welcome to Stampin' Chat live on this very warm afternoon, at least in the south of England. It's extremely warm today. We've had a very hot week of weather. We are not used to this kind of weather here. I for one am drooping just a little bit in the heat. I've got the fan on. I'm hoping that the noise isn't going to put you off or be disturbing. If it is, let me know. But it is just so hot here. I had a look at the thermometer just now in the garden and it looks like it's about 29 degrees outside, and it's forecast to get even hotter over the early part of next week. I love the warm weather, I love the sunshine, but even for me it's been just a bit too hot. So that's my complaint about the weather, because you know, I'm never happy with what it's doing. I'd always like something slightly different. If you're new here, welcome. It's lovely that you're joining me, whether you're joining me live or whether you're watching later on YouTube, or indeed the replay on Facebook. I'm Sally Bowman. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and as I mentioned, I'm in the south of England. I live in a tiny little hamlet just on the edge of the very beautiful New Forest National Park. It's a lovely part of the world, whatever the weather is doing. It's particularly gorgeous when the sun is shining. The sea is very close. I can see it from my front garden, and it's a beautiful part of the world. So I'm going to be doing some crafting with you shortly using the perfectly penciled paper, which is a little bit of a tongue twister. But before that, I'm just going to check on my iPad and make sure that everything is looking the way I hope it will be looking. So bear with me while I bring that up and turn the volume down, because you don't want me twice. Okay, let's have a look. See if I can find myself and see if I'm live. It looks like I am. Hooray. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work today, and we'll see when I turn the camera down in a minute, because Facebook in their wisdom have changed everything yet again, because they don't want us getting too comfortable and knowing how everything works, do they? They would much rather keep us on our toes, change all the buttons, preferably hide all the functionality behind something so you can't find it, and definitely move things from where they were last week. So that's where we are on Facebook at the moment. Having said that, it's very easy to do a live broadcast like this, and so here I am, still keeping my fingers crossed that it's all going to work just fine. So a few reminders before we get going actually on the meat of today's session. Celebration is of course still going. We're a couple of weeks into celebration, and I know a lot of my customers are very happy indeed that they've either already received or are shortly going to be receiving some lovely free products just for shopping that they would have done anyway. So celebration is a great time to be doing that. We've got 6 weeks or so left of celebration. Just a small word of warning, although everything is still available here in the UK, some of my colleagues over the pond are finding that items are selling out already. So if there is something you've got your eye on in the brochure, please do remember that everything is while stocks last only, and when they're gone, they're gone. They won't be getting any more in. So please don't miss out. If there's something that you really want, make sure you get your order in early rather than later, and get the free thing that you've been looking forward to receiving. So you can get free items by shopping with me. Any order over £45 receives at least one of the free items in the celebration brochure. You get to choose what you'd like. And when you join Stampin' Up, there is a bumper bundle of gorgeous planning accessories and a really wonderful 18-month planner as well, which you'll get absolutely free just for joining Stampin' Up with me. We have a lot of fun in my group of demonstrators. When you join with me, I'll mentor you, I'll make sure that you get everything that you want out of it, and a lot of us meet up together either online or in person, and we have a lot of crafting fun. And next Saturday, in fact, I'm joining up with people from my wider team of demonstrators for the first time since before the pandemic started, so I'm very excited about that, joining together with some of my Stampin' Up buddies and crafting together. So if making some new crafting friends is something you might enjoy, along with a discount on everything you buy, maybe earning a little bit of extra income, any of those things, just get in touch and I can tell you a bit more about it. The Texture Chic suite is the current suite sampler, and true to form, I've forgotten to put that on the desk in front of me. It's only just over the other side, so when I move the camera in a minute I'll grab it and then I can quickly show you. I went through it all last week, so I'll just give you a quick brief look, but you can order those until Friday of next week, the 22nd. So until a week today you can still order a Texture Suite sampler from me, which is small amounts of everything in that suite to play with and decide which ones you really like and want more of. And finally, if you'd like to come to my August Fancy Fold Cards class, you've got until next Friday, again the 22nd of July, to book your place. That's an in-person class, and we make 2 fancy fold card templates, 2 different templates every time, and then we also make an actual project for each one. It's a really nice class, very friendly, and I'm looking forward to teaching the July class on Monday. But if you'd like to book for the August class, then let me know by a week today. And if you'd like any more information on that, then just get in touch and I can answer any questions you've got. My voice seems very croaky, excuse me. I've been drinking and drinking and drinking water today, but the air is very dry at the moment, so I shall just have a little bit of water and hopefully stop the croaks. So if you are watching, let me know if the picture's okay, let me know if the sound's okay. I need to turn the camera down, and to do that I'm just going to cover you over so everything doesn't move around too much, and then we will get on and do some crafting. It's my last post-it note off the stack, so everything's going to go pink while I move it all, and I will be back with you very shortly. I just have the one camera, so I can't switch between cameras. I'm a crafter, not a technical person at all, so it's probably just as well that I've only got one camera, because I'm not sure how well I'd do if I was switching between them. But there we go. All right, so I'm just going to grab my sweet sampler and I'll check the position of the camera when I get back. There we are. Oh, and that's upside down. That's not good, is it? I completely forgot to do the reverse camera. So let's just try that one again, shall we? Okay. This should be better. Sorry about that. Okay, I can't see until my iPad catches up. There's quite a long lag on that. Okay, let's straighten things a little bit. See if that's improved it. Could do with moving that up a bit, I think. I've got everything blue tacked down so it doesn't all blow with the fan at the moment. Okay. And a little bit of washi tape on my microphone cable as usual. Wires everywhere. Let's move that wire out of the way. Let's get rid of some of this cable in my usual high-tech way. Okay, I just got a message that flashed up and said the broadcast had been interrupted and would resume. So it looks like it's resumed. If you're watching, let me know if everything is okay. I don't know what happened then at all. No idea. But hopefully you're here with me live. It's telling me you're live. So let me know. It looks like Maureen and Kay are here. So I would love to know if everything is okay, Maureen and Kay. Right, let's just quickly get this out. So this is the Texture Suite sampler. Lots of card, lots of patterned paper, some fancy gold papers here, cards and envelopes, and some lovely metallic embellishments. And that is £14 if you live close to me and collect it from me. If you'd like me to post it to you, I can, and that will be £16. And I don't know, there is something funny happening here with the broadcast. It seems to be dropping in and out. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that everything is going okay. I think I'm just going to carry on. It's telling me I'm still live. but I'm not sure what the problem is. My internet connection has been fine all day. Our internet here is pretty good. So yeah, well, I'm just going to carry on regardless. we'll keep our fingers crossed. But it's very quiet out there. It tells me there's 4 people watching live, but nobody's talking to me. So it would be really helpful if you could talk to me, and then I will know if you can see and hear everything okay. So pop a comment in, please, just so I know, because technically it's looking a little bit strange today. All right, this is the perfectly penciled patterned paper, and you have these lovely line art floral and leaf images on one side, and I'll show you the backs in a minute. And this is incredibly versatile paper. You can do so much with this. Some of these are one-way patterns like that. Some of them are all over patterns. And if I lift these up, hopefully you can see there is some shading on there. So they're not totally simple lines. There is some kind of texture and shading added. However, they are fabulous for colouring. If you like colouring, these papers are wonderful for that, but you don't have to colour them. And then on the back, they've all got patterns in black and white, and they are kind of slightly vintage or distressed looking, so they're not completely perfect. Let me lift this one up. This is quite a good one. This one looks a little bit like it's been done on a chalkboard. So the flowers are slightly faded in places, and the black background is also slightly faded. So these black and white designs on the back make lovely contrasts to the pretty florals, but they're also great for perhaps more masculine cards, particularly the ones that don't have flowers or anything else on them. This one obviously does have a floral on the back as well, and this is a favourite of mine. I like polka dots. So those are the papers. They come with 2 of each design, 12 by 12, and you will find them in the annual catalogue on page, I should have looked this up first, shouldn't I? How many times do I say that? Probably most weeks. Okay, let's find it quickly. There we go, page 133 of the annual catalogue. Alright, so let's do a little bit of crafting. So I've got things kind of partly prepared because I wanted to do some cutting out of the paper, but I also thought there is probably a limit to how long you want to sit and watch me cutting out paper. So the design I'm using here is, let me see if I can find it. It's my favourite one of them all, which is this one. So this has got large sprays of flowers. I really love colouring this one in. I've got a card I've already coloured in, which I will show you later, that uses a whole spray, and it's also got these little butterflies on there as well. So I've taken a piece of that paper here. I've cut out most of it just so you don't have to watch me doing lots of cutting out, but I will cut out the last little bit, and I'll try and hold it up and help you see. I'm going to make sure I don't snip my cable as well. So I roughly cut out one of the sprays of flowers, and actually it was one quite near the edge, and I've cut off a few little bits that were just kind of partial sections. So I'm trying to think where it was. Here somewhere, I think I had a bit of a leaf that was cut off. No, it can't have been there. It must have been over here that was cut off. So I've just snipped that one out. So the bits of this paper that are on the edges and where you haven't got an entire spray of flowers, don't let that worry you, because you can still use them. You can just tidy them up a little bit. Now you can cut these out really exactly, or you can cut them out mostly. And if I pop this on, let's put this on a piece of contrast card and try and show you. In between some of these parts of the images, like here, you've got stems here, and then in between you've obviously got the white paper. Now you can pop that on a cutting mat and use a craft knife and cut those out, and sometimes I do that. Or you can just leave them. Now here I am just going to leave those white because I'm going to mount this onto a piece of white card. So it's not going to be super noticeable that I haven't gone in there with a knife and really got very fussy about my cutting. But I will leave that one up to you. If you love to be precise and do lots of detailed cutting, then do get in there with your knife. But if it's more of a means to an end, then you can leave those bits as just solid white. When you're trimming out something like this, keep the hand with your scissors in the same position, and I don't know if you can see, but I've got my scissor blades at about 45 degrees, so not upright but just slanted. And then I'm actually going to move the paper. I'm obviously opening and closing the scissors, but beyond that I'm not moving my scissor hand, so I'm not cutting in and out like that. It's much easier just to keep the scissors in place and move the paper, and you'll see me cut out a little bit more later on, so I'll hopefully be able to show you that then as well. So that is my spray of flowers cut out. I've also cut out some little butterflies. I have a thick white card base and I have a layer of Daffodil Delight here, and then on top of that I've got another piece of basic white. Did I say basic white? I tend to call it whisper white because that's what it used to be called, and I've been saying whisper white for 10 years, but basic white, if I forgot to say it right, then it should be whisper white. I've got one of my ink blending brushes and I've got Daffodil Delight ink, so I'm going to pick up some ink on the blending brush. I'm just going to work it on my grid paper a little bit just to make sure that I haven't got any big blobs of ink, and then I'm just going to ink my card with a little bit of yellow ink, and I'm really just providing a little bit of a background here, so a little bit of interest. I'm not trying to perfectly colour the background. I'm not trying to colour all of the background. I'm just wanting it to not all be white. And I'm just going to pop my flowers on here and just see if I can see some of that yellow through. Yeah, I think I want just a little bit more down in this corner here. There we are. Okay, so if I lift that up, I'm hoping that you can see that it's not perfect. I haven't gone for even ink coverage or anything like that. I've just gone to lay down some ink very, very roughly. Alright, and now I can glue this on here, but first let me pop it all together in terms of my layers, because I think I am probably going to have to trim a little bit off that floral spray, and I won't be able to tell properly until this is all together. So that's my basic white layer with the ink. And then let's pop that on my card base. There we are. Oops. Let's just get that extra glue off there, because we do not need extra glue on the front of the card. I've got it all over my thumb. I think that's how I managed to get it on there. Alright, so this is going to go on here. And I'm quite happy for it to overlap the layers a little bit, but I don't want it sticking over the edge of my card too much, because I think that's going to get stuck in the envelope. So this little flower here, I'm just going to trim off a little bit of that one, like that. And then a little bit of this one too. There we are. Let's just neaten that. Okay. Right, so now I think that's going to work there quite nicely, and I'm just simply going to glue that down. It's not too bad a shape to glue because I didn't use my knife and cut out those inner white areas, so I've actually got quite a solid shape. So I'm just going to glue effectively round the edges of those shapes. There we are. Okay, that's still a little bit long. I think I probably haven't got it quite where I had it before, so I just need to trim another little bit off this flower here. There we go. Now that's a tiny, tiny bit over the edge there, but I think that I'll get away with that in the envelope. So make sure that's all well stuck down, and that is my card pretty much done. This is a very simple card. If you don't mind cutting out, then there's nothing difficult about this at all, but I am going to add some rhinestones for the sparkle. And actually I've got these butterflies, haven't I, which I haven't added, so let's have a look at those. I'll put one there. And another one, I think maybe down here, or maybe not. Maybe not at all, actually. No, I think not. I'll pop one inside, but I think that's enough on the front. Okay, so these are just the basic rhinestones, and I'm just going to dot a few about for a little bit of sparkle and shine, because I do love a rhinestone. That one's moved off its glue dot. It's so hot here, the rhinestones are shifting off the glue dots. And one more. I like to use odd numbers because that usually looks right to the eye, even if you can't explain exactly why. Alright, so that's my card front. I'll lift that up and show you in a little bit more detail in a minute, and I'm just going to pop these butterflies inside. There we are. So a quick and easy card. I think adding a little bit of ink to that white layer just adds quite a lot of interest. I could bring in my Wink of Stella brush and brush a little bit of sparkle onto those flowers. I could of course have coloured them, and I am going to be doing some colouring of this paper in a minute. But I think that's a fun, quick card, and you can use whatever your favourite colour is for your inking and your matting layer. But that one is done. So let's put that over there. Clear some of that debris out. You're all very quiet this afternoon. Is the heat getting to you? Is that's what it is? No comments at all. Now I was cutting out the pieces for this card, and I actually got a little bit enthusiastic and actually glued one of them down. And then I stopped myself. So I have a Tahitian tied card base here. I've got a piece of the patterned paper, and this time I've used the side without the sort of the line drawings. I've used the pattern side, and as I say, I glued that down because I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing. I've got another piece of the same paper I was just using, And this is another edge piece. You can see I've got the corner here, and in fact the tips of these leaves come off the edge. So I'll show you what I'm going to do about that. And I've got a white card insert, an extra piece of paper for the insert, and some scraps of white for a sentiment. So I'm going to colour some of this in first of all. So let's go with Tahitian Tide flowers, because you know these are going to be fantasy flowers. I'm not sure if there is actually a flower that looks like this. And I'm using my stamping blends to colour because I really love the way the colour is laid down with no blotching or streaking. They're very easy to use and they just give you beautiful, even, smooth colour. But you can use whatever your preferred colouring medium is. If you like the water-based markers, which we call Stampin' Write markers, then you can use those. You could use watercolour pencils. Don't get this too wet. I would recommend blending your watercolour pencils with a blender pen rather than on a water brush, just so you don't get this paper too wet. But they would work beautifully. You could use the soft pastels. That would give you slightly more, I don't know quite how to explain it, approximate colouring. You can't get a lot of detailed colouring with the pastels, but they do look beautiful. So use whatever you like, or of course you could leave it just black and white. You don't have to colour this at all, but I do love to colour. I've always loved colouring in. Ever since I was a child, I used to spend hours and hours and hours doing it. And then I grew up and you couldn't get adult colouring books. For a long time they were really, really hard to find. But now there are so many adult colouring books. It's absolutely amazing. And I must admit I've got a bit of a library of them. I always take some on holiday with me. Something very calming about colouring. Now I'm not doing any fancy shading with my stamping blends. I've just got, this is the dark Tahitian Tide marker, because there is quite a lot of shading already on this paper, so that's giving me some darker areas with just the single colour over the top. But if you really want to go to town on your shading with the markers, use the light and dark shades and you go right ahead. Go. Right, so that's my flowers. I'm going to quickly colour some of the leaves. I won't be colouring all the leaves because I'm actually going to snip some of them off. So that leaf is going to be snipped off because I've only got part of it there. And this marker is light old olive. It's quite a soft green. I'm going to cut off that area there. I'm going to leave on this little green leaf, so I'll colour that one. And I'll lift this up in just a moment to show you properly. And let me just have a look. I'm going to cut off those leaves, I think, as well. I've got a red for the centre, but I'm not sure. I think I want yellow actually. Goodness me, that was on tightly. This is Dark Daffodil Delight. There we go. So now I'm going to snip out my design. So if I hold this up, I'm going to get rid of this little area here. This was some more flowers, but I didn't want anything as big. I'm going to get rid of that leaf, which is coming on the edge of the paper, so it's only a partial leaf. And I think I'm going to get rid of these 3 leaves as well, just to balance up the shapes a little bit. So back to what I was saying about snipping things out, or fussy cutting. I think fussy cutting is the American term, isn't it? Although I do tend to use it myself. So I'm moving the paper. I hope you can see that. I'm not moving the scissors to and fro, other than opening and closing them. And I'm also leaving a small border of white paper around the edges of the outlines of the things I'm cutting out, because that just helps it look a little bit neater, because you don't really notice that white edging. But if you're trying to cut exactly on the line and you mess it up and kind of chop into the coloured area, that really will notice. And as on the previous flower spray, I'm not going to put this down on my cutting mat and trim out the inner areas here. I'm just going to leave those white. I'm going to make sure I keep that little butterfly. I may use that on this project, or I might just keep him for something else. So I'm going to cut these 3 leaves off, because I'm very much reducing this large flower spray. This was from the same pattern as before, and it was a really big flower spray. I have got a card with that entire flower spray coloured and cut out, which I'll show you at the end. It's beautiful, but you don't have to use the whole thing if you don't want to. Nearly there. There we are. Right, so that's the one with the butterfly. I'm not going to throw that in the bin, but I'm going to throw these little bits in the bin. And then this is my cut out piece. Gosh, there is a really long delay before I can actually see on my iPad. I was waiting to see whether you could see that clearly, which you can. There we go. So that I'm going to pop on here, and I want a sentiment somewhere, and I haven't quite decided where that sentiment is going to go. I think perhaps something like that. That's probably too long. Something like that. So I'm going to curl this flower with my bone folder, just as if I was curling ribbon. So I'm just pressing my thumb onto the paper across the edge of the bone folder and then pulling it, and that's going to curl this round a little bit like that. Gives it some shape, and it means that I can pop some dimensionals behind there and they're not going to show. I've also got some ribbon here. I've got some of the Tahitian tied metallic woven ribbon, and I'm not quite sure where I want the bow. I think I want a couple of strands of it. I'm designing on the hoof here. Can you tell? Maybe actually, yeah, I don't think I want a bow at all. I'm just going to glue the ribbon down underneath the flowers. Alright, so let's unwind that. Pop a glue dot down to fix the end of the ribbon in place. Glue is not behaving either in this heat. The glue dots don't want to come off there, and my multi-purpose liquid glue is really runny because it's so hot. There we are. I want to get kind of a, there we go, that sort of effect with like 2 triangles of ribbon. Okay, And let's just anchor that with another glue dot, and then I'll trim it off. There we are. And that rather messy join is going to be hidden behind my flowers. Alright, so now I need some dimensionals. Which are here. And I'll make sure this is well supported with dimensionals so that if it gets pressed down in the middle in the post, the flowers will still be supported so they won't go horribly flat. There we go. Bring back my card. Okay, that's my flowers down. Now I'm just going to stamp my sentiment. So I've got a happy birthday here from the art gallery set. And I've got Memento Tuxedo black ink. Just trying to get my little tiny bit of card straight on my grid paper, and then hopefully my words will be straight too. Let's see. That will do, I think. So I think I'm going to just kind of, yeah, tuck the end of that underneath my flowers and glue that down, and then my card front is done. Just again make sure that is straight. That looks better. So that's the front of my card. I'm just going to do the inside. I'll stamp the words again. Ooh. Let's turn it over because I've just put a nice black inky fingerprint on that. I don't know if you could see it, but I certainly could. And I had that butterfly, didn't I? I think I'm just going to colour that butterfly in and add that to my insert. And I've also just seen on here I've missed a little bit of green just there. Let's add that, that looks better. Right, snip out the butterfly. Now when it comes to its antenna, if this was a stamped butterfly, I would stamp the butterfly on my card, stamp it again on scrap paper and snip it out, and I would actually snip off the antennae, because then when I glued this one down, the antennae I had already stamped would be showing, if that makes sense. Can you imagine what I'm saying? Which which is the easiest way of doing it, but I don't have the luxury of doing that because I don't have a stamp for this, so I have just no idea if you'll be able to see that. I've just cut round them as best I could. They are very teeny tiny, but if you accidentally snip them off, you can always use a fine black pen, even a ballpoint pen would work, and just draw them in. But butterflies look a little bit odd without them somehow. There we go. Find my glue. And then I've got a little bit of that patterned paper I'm just going to pop across the bottom there. It's longer than I need, so I'll tear off most of the excess and then just trim this off neatly in a minute. And again, this grid paper is brilliant for lining up things like this. I can straighten my card on the grid and then line up my strip with one of the lines. Did you know it's in the catalogue? You can buy your own grid paper very easily, and you will be very glad that you have. It's brilliant stuff. Got a big blob of glue that's dried on the end of there. Let me see if I can pull that off without getting too sticky. Right, pop my insert in the side. And there we are. So I particularly like using bright colours against the black and white, but you don't have to. You can use pastels as well. So that's my second card. Let me just clear up a little bit, and I must drink some more water because I can feel my voice going. Bear with me. Okay, how are we doing for time? 2:45, not too bad. Right, I've got one more to make, and then I've got a few more just to show you. So for this one, I've got one I made earlier, and then I'm going to make a slightly different version to show you. So there we go. So for this one, I've made almost like a patchwork quilt effect using the different papers, some of them with that floral or leaf design, and using some of them with that more geometric design on the back. Pick that up and try and give you a better look. Now, I haven't coloured these papers at all. I've just mounted them onto some parakeet party card, which you can see peeking through, and then the card base is the same, and then I've added a layer of black, just a tiny bit bigger than my patchwork layer, just to set off that patchwork. And this is some of the black and white ribbon, which I have actually coloured using my stamping blends. This is how it starts out. But you can colour it with your stamping blends and make it any colour you like to coordinate. I'm just going to cough, excuse me. Right, so I've used the rectangle postage stamp punch for this one, and I'm going to do another version of it. So let's move that out of the way for the moment. This time I'm using polished pink, again with the black. I'm going to do it in a portrait form rather than landscape. I've punched out several shapes in the patterned paper, and I've added some colour to them. I've added polished pink using my Stampin' Right marker, and I've also used some Granny Apple Green light, I think it is, let me just check. Yeah, light Granny Apple Green and light Polished Pink are the two colours that I've added on here. So I've coloured just a few of the flower images, and I've also coloured in some of the pattern on the black and white. So not on all of them, and I'll just do a little bit now just to show you what I mean. So it's very, very easy. You don't have to be an artist to do this at all. So it just adds a hint of colour, but it leaves quite a lot of that black and white as well. I'll do that one again if I need it. And then I'm just going to start gluing these in place. I usually lay them in place first, or at least some of them. And I laid down the first three like this already and stuck them down, and then I'm going to use that as a foundation for laying out the others. Now I could have just gone straight across like that, but actually I prefer it on a slight angle, and this one as well I did at an angle, well not at an angle but offset, let's put it that way, rather than lines. I've done it almost more as a brickwork, and this one will be the same, and it'll be kind of diagonal. So now I'm just going to play around with the pieces that I've got here and decide what to put where. And then once I'm happy, I will glue them down and trim around the outside. I'm just kind of auditioning things and deciding what I like where. I really like that spotty one. Pop that one there. That there and that there, I think. Yeah, I think there we go. Alright, so now I'm just going to pick them up one by one and glue them in place, assuming I can find my glue. There we are, buried under a heap of stuff. Okay, let's do this one. And the card I'm working on here is Polished Pink, and I'm just allowing a little bit of that to show in between each of the pieces of paper. This technique will work with any kind of patterned paper, and it's really good for using up your scraps. You might have a square punch, you might have a different shape that will work. Oh, that one's glued down already. There we are. So that is my piece of pink card, completely covered with sections of paper. So now if I turn it over, I can very easily trim off what isn't needed. I think my scissors will need a bit of a clean after this, but that's okay. There we are. So that is my finished piece, which looks a lot better now I've trimmed it. I'm just going to stick that down. I've got a big blob of glue on my grid paper. I don't want it transferring. All right. So I have got some ribbon here. Which I think I do like. It's quite busy, but I do quite like it. So what I'm not sure about is whether or not I want to colour that ribbon or not. Let's have a look. I'm going to colour just a little snippet of it and see if I prefer that to the plain black and white. I don't think I do. I think I like the black and white this time. It's a bit more of a contrast. Nothing like trying to tie a bow live. I feel all fingers and thumbs today. I think we're there. There we are. I don't want a gigantic bow, I just want a fairly small one. I've got my ends in the wrong places though, so I'm actually going to retie that. For some reason, tying a bow upside down often gives me a better result. I'm sure there is a complicated explanation which I can't give you. There we go. Third time lucky. Oh, my fingers are bad today. They just don't want to bend. There we are. That's better. Okay, much better. Now I'm happy with that. Let's find my ribbon scissors and just tidy up those ends. And now I can add this to a black layer. So I've only got a tiny little bit of black showing around the edge of that. My black layer is only 1/8 of an inch bigger all round than my patchwork layer. And still nobody has said anything. I can see a list of people who are watching, but you're all very quiet. Perhaps you're lying down in the shade with your eyes closed and you're just listening to me rather than watching. That's always possible. Okay, and I'm just going to make a little sentiment piece. So I've got the thank you from Go To Greetings, my new favourite sentiment set, and I'm going to stamp this on white card and punch it out with the double oval punch. And that's not a very good one, so can I turn that over? No, it's going to show through. My thanks go to Andrew for suggesting I use the double oval punch. We were chatting about what I was doing. Andrew's one of my team, and he suggested the double oval, and he was absolutely right because it works really nicely with this. So I'm going to punch out the plain oval with my sentiment and then the scalloped one in pink. And if I use my punch this way up, I can see exactly where those words are going to go and make sure they're straight. And it's always easier to stamp on a bigger piece of card and then punch it out than it is to do it the other way round. There we go. So I just want the scalloped one in the polished pink. I'm going to glue those two together and add them to my card. And a couple of dimensionals on the back there. I'm just going to tuck that in there. There we are. And I've forgotten to cut an insert for inside, but that's okay, I can do that later. So that's two versions of essentially the same card. Sorry about the paper there, but it's keeping the glue off my cards. So those are those two, and then I've got a couple of others just to show you, to give you a few more ideas. So here are two more where I have used the darker side of the paper and just coloured in a little bit. So I've just coloured in that flower. I've coloured my ribbon blue here as well. This is balmy blue, this card. Oops, I've got that too high I think for you to see it all. There we go, is that better? So that's that one. And then a gatefold card here. I've used, what's that one called? Biggest Wish, that stamp set. And I've just coloured in some of those polka dots. Quite bright, that card, but I do like bright colours. And then I promised you one where I had coloured in a whole spray of those flowers, which is this card. So I coloured it with my stamping blends, and then I snipped the whole thing out. This did take a little bit of time, I must admit, but I did really enjoy doing it. And I have even, let me find something to point with. I have, in this case, I did get in there with my craft knife and I've cut out all the little spaces in between. And that lovely silver stripy paper is the free Celebration gold and silver paper. which I think makes a really nice background to it. And I've added some of the festive pearls, which come in a soft green, a soft red, gold and silver, and they are really nice. I think I love the metallic ones particularly. And then I just added a couple of butterflies as well. So this is the kind of thing I think you can sort of sit and cut out while you listen to the television. I do that quite a lot. So there you have it. There are quite a few ideas as to what to do with the perfectly penciled paper, and if you haven't got any, I hope you'll have a think about getting some. I think it's really versatile. You can make cards for all kinds of different occasions. You can colour it or not. You can use the illustrated side or the patterned side, and I think it's lovely. I really, really like it. I hope I've inspired you. I'm just going to turn the camera back up so I can say a proper goodbye to you. That hour seems to have gone past really, really quickly. Okay, there we are. Come back a little bit. I think that's better. And what am I doing next week? Next week I'm Wonderful World stamps and patterned paper. You can get them for free this month and next month while stocks last, as I said earlier, but they're certainly currently available and they're really beautiful. So I'm going to be giving you some ideas and hopefully inspiring you with that. Well, it's the weekend. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have some time in the garden planned, or maybe at the beach or a barbecue even. It's even been warm enough to sit out in the garden until late at night. So if you have an outside space of some sort, then I hope you'll be able to take advantage of that too. But until next time, I'm going to thank you very much indeed and say bye-bye. So I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye. Do you know, this bit always foils me. It's getting the finish button to come up. There we go. Bye-bye.